right, welcome everyone to another version, to another episode of the P3 podcast. Today we're going to be talking about what's currently on the CDP, which is the quality of life. Um, when we're recording this, phase two is already closed, so the next phase three, will be where you will take your top three things that are quality of life and pick them so that the devs will then hopefully create a proposal at the end of it. Um, we've gotten three new members of the content creator program to come on and talk a little about what they think are the most pressing quality of life issues for them, anyways. So we've got Enyo, who is a big YouTube contributor and makes fantastic films. So if you haven't checked out her channel, you should go do that. We have Harper Steele, who is a regular Twitch streamer. And I think you're not doing YouTube yet, are you, Harper?
Not yet.
Okay. And of course we have and I put him last because he's maybe the biggest, but from a YouTube perspective, one of the biggest, Nova, and he's getting more into. Well, he's still doing YouTube streaming and Twitch streaming, aren't you?
Yeah, a little bit of all of them mixed up. And thanks.
Yep, you're welcome. So let's just get to the brass tacks right away, right? So, Anya, why don't you tell me what's the number one thing that you saw on all of that? Because I mean, god damn it, there was like 8 pages of ideas essentially. Number one quality of life thing for you that jumped out.
There were definitely a lot of options to read through, and it was kind of hard to just narrow it down to just three. But I think one of the things for me, anyways, that I think could be really useful for everyone was someone suggested somewhere in the game that you can check server wide events from anywhere you are, so you don't have to be going to like a single map just to check if like insurgencies are up or something like that. Because I know Chris with his project, what's his project name?
Ascension.
Project Ascension. I know that's kind of something that he's wanting to introduce into the areas, these different almost like episodes and events and whatnot. So I think definitely down the line, it would be nice to have somewhere where you can just open it and see in each area whether these things are up or not.
So like an actual world map, right? Like is that what you're thinking?
I don't know if I'd say a world map, but like a almost like a world timer. Like how, for example, in the calendar, you can see when it's time for Marauders or Dragonflight to come up.
Right. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah. So
So
that's
like
kind of
a
yeah.
calendar for all the different things that will be coming up in different zones.
So would you want that would you want that like in the game like a separate small window that just pops up and says, "Hey, insurgencies are up," or something along the lines of what we already have where uh next to the map it kind of shows things that are active right now?
More like, because right now, for example, if you want to check if it's time for like insurgencies or if Bell is up, you need to physically go to the Avernus map, right?
Yeah.
But down the road, once more things start getting introduced, because I know this is sort of like almost like a theme that I think Chris is wanting to follow down the road. Imagine there's like 5 maps with all different things, and you have to physically go to each map just to check the timer.
Yeah, I think that would definitely be more helpful, especially if we see more of the cross instance events. Because I mean, we haven't really seen that up until the newer content like Avernus stuff, where we see like insurgencies or Bell that occurs across all the different instances. Anything like older content, though, I'm not sure if that would necessarily apply because like heroic encounters can be in one instance and not another, and there's tons of instances. But if we see more of this like cross instance events, I think that could be useful.
Yeah, and I think from what I understand, Chris is wanting to work towards more cross instance events. So I think before they start to like really pile up and then everyone gets annoyed, it might be good to just introduce that somewhere along the line, the process of implementing all of those ideas.
Now, do you think that should be in like the campaign window or just somewhere on the screen as its own separate UI element? What do
I,
you see?
I feel like probably the campaign window, in my opinion, would be better. Like, you know how the Dread Ring has a little calendar for the enchanting stones and the layers
Yeah.
right in the campaign window? Probably something like that for just each campaign or each map, whatever Chris has planned. I think that would probably be a good reference point, and then it's not like they have to create a whole new UI or new window, essentially. They just plug it into the existing window.
Sure. Okay.
I do like
That would actually help like that.
I do see the value in that because like last night I tried. So I took a character that hadn't actually been into like Avernus, like even to Valenhouse yet, and my experiment was kind of like how fast can I actually get into like the new like campaign that we're running right now, right? Um,
Mhm.
and so it turns out you can actually probably just get in like without even having stepped into like Valenhouse yet. You can get into there like in 3 weeks. Um, like get into the new like into the like episodic content that we're doing now.
Mhm.
And that's and considering like I mean like I said I hadn't even gone into Valenhouse yet. So I went into Valenhouse. I ended up getting like the piece up to 20%. Like I ended up getting the week complete in like the into the like Avernus. Um,
Mhm.
so I'm on track for 3 weeks, and at the same time, essentially doing like two, well, I don't almost three pieces like all at the same time because I'm doing Valenhouse, Rage of Bel, like and the Avernus campaign all like simultaneously. And so one of the things that was important for timing was you know, to get those pieces, I need to get into insurgencies and I need to get like into HEs with 8, etc. to get myself into a place to be able to be comfortable in the other zone. So like having something where I could go and time this so that insurgencies are up when I need them, etc. would be really really helpful without having to keep like switching instances back and forth.
Mhm. Or just asking other people, because I see it all the time in my alliance. People are asking, are insurgencies up? Is Bell up? And they're always asking, and either someone else has to go check it or they have to go check it. And, if there's ever multiple of these, which I highly suspect there will be,
Mm-hmm.
it could become a pain pretty quick.
Okay.
Especially remembering everything and the times on everything because insurgencies is what every 2 hours, every hour, and Bell is
I think
there's like a
Insurgencies doesn't have a time limit, but it has a delay of an hour after Bell is complete.
oh,
But
okay, that's what it
Insurgencies,
is.
run as long until they're filled, right?
Yeah, until the 100%, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. And then
Do we have
Bell's like an
anything
hour.
like that in other zones that wouldn't like I know you're talking about like Avernus and stuff right now,
Mm-hmm.
but if we look at the other zones, do we have anything like that that could, as like a small
Example?
step?
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, as an example.
the only thing I can think of that still exists is Well of Dragons, where
That's what.
right you have the dragon run first, I guess, whatever it is, but it's on
Mhm.
45, it's 15 minutes before every hour, and
Yeah.
then you have I mean then you used to have the Tiamat, right? Which was like on the hour, but now Tiamat's basically whenever you queue for it. So but
Mhm.
yeah, but I mean that's still the only thing that I can think of that people still do it too.
I think it
Like
would help, honestly.
Yeah, I think especially going forward, it would
mhm,
just be helpful to know when everything comes up. Not every single like heroic encounter or anything, but a lot of these events.
Like the main ones.
Yeah.
That's good.
It would
okay,
definitely be nice for oh sorry
that's okay.
insurgencies too for the casual players because I mean at the beginning when insurgencies were first introduced you had to be sitting around waiting in the instance to make sure you wouldn't miss them and then they were around for forever and now they're about optimized but still you don't want to have to be sitting and waiting around until you know that insurgencies are popping up just to hit your daily charge or whatnot. If you're just a casual player, you don't have as much time.
I will say one thing that I did notice when I was in there doing it last night was that there were far less mobs, um, because there was really only the two of us in there. So I'm thinking that the insurgencies are actually adjusting to the amount of people that are actually doing them too.
That seems
That's
good.
cool.
Right? I mean, that's a really cool feature if that's actually what was built in there because yeah, there was like I mean, it
Would
wasn't.
you?
Hmm.
I was gonna say, would you call that scaling?
Yeah, I would call it scaling, right? Because like I mean, if given the amount of mobs I remember when we were first going in there, easily the two of us would have been overpowered. Like I mean, in the sense that we would have been dead quite often.
Yeah.
There was enough ads that were spawning that it was comfortable, um, and not overly challenging, and we could get the stuff done like in a relatively short amount of time. So, you know, we didn't farm it because you know the farming part for the rod and stuff doesn't come until later. But I mean, for what it was comfortable.
Hmm.
So let's look at so let's go to like so Harper. What was your number one?
So sorry.
That's okay.
My mostly I had a hard time coming up with something that would be beneficial for everyone and not just something that would be more convenient at end game stage. But one thing that really frustrates me, and not sure if this is quality of life, but needing account wide RP. There's a lot of gear that drops that isn't like you can't even sell it for gold. It's just straight RP. And so once you like hit your artifacts upgrade, once you um upgrade a lot of your stuff, you're just sitting on RP, and if you have alternate tunes, it is a huge hassle to like mail them or put them in your bank and transfer over any like equipment or gems for RP transfer. And I don't see why it couldn't be cross tunes because I mean so is our AD, so is our companion training tokens. I just think that would be very helpful in terms of helping work on other characters as well.
So you foresee like an RP like slot in the bank where you just dump all your RP in and then pull it as you need it for whatever character?
I think that would be very nice.
I have to agree with her on that
Yeah, definitely.
because
And it
RP
was
is abundance in the game, but like how Harper was saying, like to transfer things back and forth, and sometimes you can't even transfer equipment, right? Because it's character bound.
yeah, and so much of the equipment is just strictly RP or you discard it. There you can't even sell it for gold.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, one of the things that I like a trick that I've always used is like I move enchants around. So like I convert it to RP in a character, and then I put an enchant in there, and then dump the RP into the enchant and move the enchant around. But I totally get what you're saying. It's doesn't need to be that onerous, like to do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Out of the main, I guess, currencies we have right now, RP, gold, astral diamonds, trade bars. Well, let's just take RP out of there because it's not there yet. But besides RP, have you thought of anything else that could be useful as currency to be account wide for alternate characters, Harper?
Well, other people in discussions have been talking about reroll tokens. I want to say I don't agree with that one. Um,
Aren't
Mainly
those bound
because
anyways?
yeah, yeah, but they were saying, hey, they should be made like account wide, so then we can just put them all in one tune. I'm like, no, I don't think so. um, just because I mean, you do that is something that should like reward you for going on other tunes. You do have rerolls on that. Um, it's not really something that'll help develop other characters. So I guess more along the ties of like developing currencies in terms of like buying and upgrading stuff, not necessarily any like campaign currencies or different stuff for like Emmys or stuff like that. It's mainly like your gold, your AD, your RP, probably what trade bars, just those types of currencies. Does that make sense?
I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
it makes sense to me. I mean, I know that Nova would want, and maybe I'm just putting words in his mouth, but I think he's talked about it before, where he wanted, um, like campaign currencies to be between characters because, you know, then he doesn't have to worry about like you could earn the campaign currency on one character, that's stronger and then transfer to another character to finish the campaign.
Yeah, because I was having problems like with my cleric. I don't even really play my cleric anymore. Rest in peace, Mariah Carey's. But
No.
I wasn't able to like. It's hard doing that. Like I don't want to play a DPS cleric, and that's just me personally. So I want to play like my healer, but I can't do that type of content solo as a healing cleric. I can obviously have a friend and stuff, but I feel like how Gray was saying, it would be just a little bit easier to transfer stuff from a stronger character to my less stronger character, and that
Yeah.
RP falls into that same perspective, I think.
Yeah, because a great way to upgrade your character and get it caught up to speed is to get your companions upgraded, to get your artifacts upgraded. Gear is pretty easy to come and transfer over, and other than that, it's just enchantments. But like RP is a very critical part in getting a tune caught up to speed. With campaigns, we do. I mean, it is a bit arduous in terms of leveling up other characters. If you really, really want to, I mean, you can get the tokens that you can use to reduce current campaign cost to help with that. And then if you really, really don't want to do a campaign, you can always buy the campaign buyout on the auction house. That is also an option, which I've used once or twice.
Me too.
Well, I mean, there is also, I mean, what if they expanded that token thing so that you could actually do 2 tokens? Right? Because it doesn't mean that you're not playing the content more, but I mean, if you accumulate enough currency that you could actually, like, so the first token halves it, and then what if you could half that again?
To what
So
end
it
though?
like
Just
stacks.
2 tokens, or are we talking exponential?
No, we're just talking 2. So, like, because
That
I
would be
mean,
nice.
right? Like it halved and halved again, right? Because that means that you're definitely playing that content still, like on your whatever character you're actually doing that, like doing the tokens on.
Can,
Mhm.
can you only create one token, or can you create multiples?
You can create multiples on that character, but you can only apply the token once once on a character,
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't sell those tokens, right?
No, they're not. They're just bound. They're bound to account.
I've also
I
used
definitely.
legacy quests a lot. That's how I
Mhm.
did my entire Cloak to Send to Sea campaign.
I'm about to
What?
finish mine tomorrow. I'm so happy.
Well, I mean, in some of the newer things, they actually were giving you the maze engine token. Um, and I would have really rathered having the ability to do 2 maze tokens because like it's still too long. I'm just gonna say it's still too
Really?
long. It's
Maze
time.
engine?
Maze engine is long because it's time.
I
It's time gated. It's not
No,
necessarily
that's the
currency gated.
fastest campaign you can do in the game.
Maze
Underdark
engine?
is
No.
Yeah,
10
yeah,
times
with the
worse.
event
Char-
and the token.
Sharndar is like 3 days if you have a token. That's
You're
the
just talking
shortest.
about boons, right? Like completing it 100%, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about boons. Yeah.
What about wait? You didn't do it like during the Maze Engine ×2 currency, and there was another event that you could tie it with at the same time. And I did it like on the 8 hours on stream one day.
I'm telling you, I just don't do it. Like I'm just
Oh, you got to do it,
like
bro. It's easy. I know it sucks, but it's easy. My
okay. So last but not least, so Nova, what's your number 1?
my number one. Um, so this is something that's just been a problem with me coming from console is putting the news and other important like relevant information on the login page for the console platforms. So I played on console for like 6-7 years, and one of the issues that I've always come across from people, whether they're just talking to me or just commenting, they're like, I didn't know this event was coming, I didn't hear the dev say this, or where are the forums. Like there's no real way for certain people to access a lot of that information if they play on console. And an excuse that they say is that they don't have access to that. So one of the things that I saw here on the CDP was putting that information on the login page. And I feel like that would just help with a lot of the miscommunication and just communication in general when it comes to console players.
I mean, I can't speak to it because I don't know, but I did notice that there was a lot of stuff that I thought that are already on PC that isn't in console. Like
Yeah, my list is practically that.
okay.
Like no cap, it's literally that, and I think that's just the most important thing there.
what do you think the greatest barrier is for them to do stuff that's already on PC that they haven't included in console?
Equipment and probably performance, maybe. I would say equipment at the most, because one of the things that I've always considered is like, um, everybody's got to log into the game, and everybody sees the same play login, whatever. And you know how Enyo was saying before, you can just add something to the pre-existing window. And I just feel like doing that on the launcher or even on the home screen, because when you log into the game, you have that big home screen window that pops up that has like new events on the side and events and sales on the bottom. I feel like it would be just simple to add some stuff there.
I mean, it's gotten a lot. I'll have to admit that window has gotten a lot better. Like, I mean, it's a far cry from what it was like even 2 years ago. Like the amount of
When
information that's on there.
first came out.
Well, let's not even go
Yeah,
there, right? But
it
I mean,
still
even
pops up.
yeah. But in the last 2 years, like that home screen, what pops up is there's a lot more stuff on there than there was before. Um, but I mean, so you think it's like more the interface, like the actual controls, like the amount of available letter, like I mean, like buttons,
Well,
even like a symbol on the controller.
like the interface, and just like even like I know it's possible that they can do it, because when you're leveling up in the game, you get mail from Cryptic Studios, and then you get mail from the Neverwinter game itself, letting you know that you're getting it from two different sources, two different functions in the game. So I feel like instead of just sending mail, because not everybody checks their mail, you could just put it right there on the home screen where everybody can see it, because you have to see that screen when you log into the game. You can't bypass it, but you can bypass your mail. You can bypass not going onto a computer.
Well, what if
Bypass
we
not
just
going on
what if
social
we just
media.
had this sound prompt every time, like you've got mail all the time until they actually open their mail.
Like AOL.
That's right.
You got mail.
That's right. Like just nonstop
Um,
until they opened it.
I feel like that would get annoying. I don't know. I just feel like the communication and just like the way things are translated when it comes to console players, it's really dull. And if like I don't know if you guys have played on console, but like the game is far different than what it is on PC. Let me tell you that straight up. It's not the same game.
Well, you've totally been hearing that because I mean, obviously, there's a few of you like yourself that have like even Sunny came over to PC. Um, that I mean, essentially these were console players, and then you know when you come over to PC, you're raving about like how better the game looks. You know, and I guess I don't know what other things are better that you feel on PC.
Um, Performance, the game, the visuals, the community, how slow the queues are, or how fast the queues are actually. Um, Not lagging when I'm just trying to teleport. Like the game runs like I obviously know that like consoles are just like 7-10 year old machines at this point, but the game is just so different. It's so different. Like I honestly recommend you guys to try it for like a week and come back and tell me how you feel, because it's not the same, but the
So
communication definitely.
So one of the things though that's come up, and I know you brought it up a number of times, and then it was in quality of life as well, was about portability. Like about are they going to upgrade the game for the new systems, right? Are they going to, for whatever like the new consoles when they come out? Um, do you think that some of those issues that you're talking about would be resolved, like even if they had the game, like if they didn't, like if it was still available, but they didn't actually change the game? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like you're asking if it would still happen on
Like
next
if
gen
the technology on the next gen stuff, because
supports it.
well, yeah, if the game can be played on it, right? Which I'm assuming it is because they basically most games, especially like are like they allow them to like play the older.
Yeah.
But then the technology in the newer consoles would alleviate some of the stuff you're talking about, like lagging and this sort of stuff.
I think it should. Like it wouldn't. It seems logical that it would. I don't see why it wouldn't. I feel like it's just gonna be like a big step forward. If it is able to play on the next gen consoles. I mean, I feel like it is going to be, because when you just look at the timeline that we have, um, and this timeline is for PC, there's another communication thing. They don't even know when it's going to be happening for console. Well, at least I don't know if they know yet. But um, like with everything happening with the game for the next year, I mean, I guess I just logically assume that it will be on next gen, because why put all this effort into the game now on a 10-year-old console? You know
Right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think communication. That's my big thing.
Okay. So, and so I know we went, well, let's just go back to Harper. So Harper,
Yes.
so we asked for number one. So, like, when you looked at the list as entirely, and I don't know if you, how much, because I said, like, this was huge list again. Um, was there something that you saw that was missing, that jumped out at you? You thought, I mean, nobody's talking about this. Like, this was an idea that should have been there, but it wasn't there. Or it's one of the ideas in there spurred you to think of something that somebody hadn't mentioned.
I don't remember if it was in the huge conglomerate of ideas in that specific list, but something that I did see a couple times was the ask for sliders on more stuff, or on like everything would be fine. I mean, I would be fine if there's a slider on absolutely everything and it always started at 1. Because
So,
there's a lot of items where you can just spend like 5-10 minutes just clicking okay, okay, okay over and over again trying to buy something. I feel like that would be a nice little quality of life improvement. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I totally agree. As someone that I like to do a lot of the Dread Legion layers, and I forget what currency it is, but there's actually, I think, multiple currencies there that you have to just buy them one at a time. But sometimes you're clicking up to 60, 70 times just, on this one item, and it's kind of ridiculous.
I have to
right.
agree with you on that. Definitely.
Well,
I think
it's weird. Sorry, no, it's weird that, like, I know the Dread Ring thing in particular is that the early currency to get the scripts, you're clicking one at a time, and then when you go to buy the keys, then you just have a slider, which seems weird.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead, Nova.
no, I was gonna say the same exact thing, like in the Dread Ring, but the slider is what Harper was saying. Um, that's really good. I think that is heavily needed everywhere. Um, even if you want to buy seals, or not seals, if you want to buy equipment with seals, you get 1,200 mags. You can buy a couple of things with that. Maybe you just want to buy it for refinement. Just give us a slider with 3. I like how Enyo was saying earlier. You're clicking up to 60 times, but you're not getting 60 items. You're getting like 20 because you're just trying to do it so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes your mouse moves actually too, and you end up buying something you didn't intend on buying.
And then you can't sell it.
That's right.
You're screwed.
Another thing I saw that was kind of related to the same thing was stacks. So there was a lot of call for increasing stacks on particular items. So that I think so most were saying that they wanted it to go up to 99, like on stuff. There was another one though that was I found kind of humorous, was that they wanted the stacks to go up to 150 on press wards because that's what it takes to upgrade something. What are your thoughts on something like that?
Ladies first.
Anyone can jump in.
I think that's a good idea with the 150, because like you said, it's how much it costs to actually, refine or upgrade an enchantment at the percentage that they give us, 150. I think that would be good, but I don't know many other items in the game that don't stack up to 100, or stack up to 99, I should say. Is there anything? Like what are you thinking of that would need to be increased besides preservation wards?
Something for me that comes to mind is the treasures that you often drop when you're just questing and whatnot. And for some reason, they only stack to 20.
Mm-hmm.
So then you'll end up with like 6 stacks of all these treasures by the end of the day. And that's 6 slots of inventory space that they're taking up. And it's kind of annoying. I know you can just sell them quickly, but when you have other items too that might, take up space. This drops into another topic that I actually had written down,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know. Should I wait or?
I don't know. I mean, let me just say this. Like, the one thing I would add that I would want like a stack of 99 on is abysmal chicken pets, like abysmal chickens.
Yeah. Oh,
Right?
and
Like, I mean,
hunts. Lords. Those too. Let's not forget about those.
Right. But I mean, I think
Mhm.
everyone would be less angry about getting abysmal chickens if they stacked up to 99. That's all I'm saying. Right? Like, if they only took up
Yeah.
one slot, nobody would care.
Or even if you could take it a step further,
No.
like how Enyo was saying about the chest, maybe there could be like a what do you call it? I don't want to say a separate inventory or like a separate bag, but maybe like a different compartment where you can have certain things like that. Um, well, maybe that's already in the game, like the currencies
Yeah, I think
page.
there are, like, I mean, they have a lot of different places like to stick stuff.
Yeah,
The question
I'm
is
thinking of
sometimes is how they
like,
qualify them, right? Like, I mean, today, like
yeah,
recently, we've been getting, like in the new campaign, we've been getting these zero tokens. When we've reached a cap, I guess, of some sort, but we don't really know what that cap is. We just get this error, and then like this Zerial currency token in our bag. I don't know what it is. Like, everyone's waiting until next week, and then we'll pop them and see what happens. But I mean,
Mhm.
there's a little bit of communication about what that is or what that means or why they're all of a sudden like an item that's a currency is now filling up our bag.
backspace is crucial.
Anyway, let's go back. What were you gonna say, Harper? What was the other thing?
Oh, I mean, you guys pretty much covered what I was gonna say. I mean, I personally would like, and it was the like the plates and the random stuff that we pick up that to stack a little bit more. Stuff like RP. Granted, that would probably be mitigated a little bit if we did have account wide RP. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with that. What you guys have said.
No, but what
I
was
want to
the
ask a question. Oh,
mm-hmm.
Oh, what
to
was my?
what?
Go ahead, Nova.
Sorry, I wanted to ask a question to what Harper said, and to what Enya was saying. Um, with the stacking. Oh, actually, come back, come back. I just lost it. It was actually a really good question too. Damn, I'm sorry. Hate when that happens.
That's what it's okay. Somebody was actually saying that this prompted them to think of something else that was coming up, and and they held off. What was that? Was that Enyo? I thought it was Enyo or
Oh,
Harper. Yeah,
yeah, it was me.
yeah.
I was just thinking that since we're talking kind of like about things stacking better
Mhm.
and not filling up your inventory, something else that I had in mind that would be like a really good change would kind of what Harper was saying. All your refinement items, you have unbound, bound, and then account bound. So it takes up 3 slots for one item on like every single refinement stone, basically.
Yeah,
It takes up.
I'll speak a little bit to that. Like, my understanding from Chris and the theme is that their goal is to have everything either just account bound or unbound. That the character bound stuff is left over. So if you're and generally the character stuff you're talking about generally comes out of the praying like mechanic, and that's getting a total rework. So you know, it's definitely a concern. It was definitely something on the quality of life list for sure. But I think it's something that's like already on the way out.
Mhm.
It's just hasn't permeated throughout the entire game yet, because as they're out doing system updates on stuff. So like, I'm not discounting that it's not an issue. It is currently, but I think it's already being addressed. We just haven't seen the results yet. Um,
Mhm. It would be nice to see that changed for sure.
did everyone notice that there was a lot of stuff about Stronghold and quality of life?
Yeah.
There was,
Mhm.
yeah.
What's your, like, I mean, the devs as a whole at this point have said that they're not really looking at strongholds, and it's not on their like radar at the moment. Do you think that do you think that it should be like that? This is a push by the community to say, hey, strongholds need some work right now, like, and that's what they want on the agenda, or that it's just a result of something else that the community is feeling.
Mm.
I think there's definitely a lot of potential for development with strongholds. I mean, there was a lot of feedback from the community throughout the CDP about different ways that we can improve or utilize um, the the strongholds. So I would like to see something in the future. I hope this does push some thought towards the subject.
Hmm. I think, especially for me, since I'm a guild leader, um, I think one of the things that I find most annoying, and I know a lot of leaders find very annoying, is the fact that we can only have 4 boon plots when there's 5 boon plots that are almost necessary for everyone. Everyone can use them. And it can be a little frustrating. I know it adds a little more diversity between the guilds, but at the same time, it's very annoying to only be being able to offer 4 of the 5 that most people want. So I think it would be nice just to add in another boom plot. But otherwise, I don't really see, at least in game, I don't see people asking for, further development to the stronghold, maybe some alliance wide events, but that would be really it.
So I mean, how do you see like I mean, so I've made a post in the past about like how I think that the boons should be built. I still kept to the 4. Um but I mean, part of the object like I mean and I've talked about this on my streams and I know Willow has and I think a few others is that probably the most expensive boons in the game right now are the stronghold boons. Like when you look at value versus because I mean basically any boon in a guild can be basically compensated with like a companion, right? And a
Hmm.
companion is significantly cheaper than it would be like for a guild. Um, like people talk about they want the power boon. Well, why not just give everyone like a deep crow, right? When they walk in the door, give them a purple deep crow and say, "There you go, there's your power boon," and then you just work on the other 4. I think I'm raising this as a question, right? Because I mean, in my mind, like I was a guild leader for a very long time. I'm not right now, but um, that was one of the frustrating things for me was that the value of the boons have been severely diminished, which was, at one point the comment from like No Worries was that the boons were way overpowered. And now they're, less than a companion at this point. Um,
Hmm.
I I know that a lot of us restructured like our we tore down a boon to get like a severity boon because the severity boon seemed to be the thing now with the change in the damage formula. And again, there we go where they make a change to something and then it has like a rippling effect like throughout the community about what to have or what to do or what to keep. Um, the other thing, like in my posts, one of my suggestions was that instead of you have to build like the way the current build structure is, instead that for each boon plot that you get, that when you get 25% of every boon, and then so I mean one of the things that the devs have talked about is like inclusivity as opposed to creating exclusivity and people often make moves like away from their friends, like to other guilds that have boons because they have those boons. Um, but if everyone had the same access, like to all the boons, and then they just made the personal choice, and then the level of the guild determined how much of a percentage, like of those boon you had, then that would also mean that the lower guilds would be able to build up faster too, right? Because everyone's going to have the boon that they want, and then it's just they're not having to you know I mean I know in cases in some of my cases you had to vote on what boon that they wanted to have, um, and then some people were unhappy because that wasn't the one they wanted. um, but
Hmm.
if it but if it was 4 boons, you get 25% of each boon, like, and then by the time you have 20, like all 4 boons, and you have 100% of each boon, like there would be less movement between guilds. I don't know, what do you think?
I mean, you make a good point and a good suggestion.
Hmm.
overall, I think, like, I know what you're saying. It's just trying to think it through.
Okay, well, I'll let you think about that for a sec. The other thing that I noticed in there was there were like events, like that is a thing that, you know, I mean, Dragonflight back in the day was not only like a team, like a guild team building exercise, but it ended up being like an alliance building exercise. And some of my fondest memories in this game still are you know um, accidents that happened during Dragonflight, where somebody came in, it was their first time, and they saw that everyone left the dragon all by themselves, and it was almost dead, and then they finished it off for everybody else. Um, thus ruining the four dragons, like
Yeah,
getting the four dragons. But I mean, hell, that was fucking hilarious.
I remember those days.
Oh yeah.
It was fun. Like
Even yeah.
Strongholds is I guess I have two perspectives on it, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
It's I like it because like how you're saying, like the Dragonflight, just the group content and the involvement that you get from players, not only from your guild but from alliance. And then when people who aren't in alliances or guilds, because there are people that play the game that aren't in those, they see that they want to be involved in that. And I'm all about like involving people in more group content as possible. But on the other hand, I don't like it because strongholds, as they said before, it's dead code. And this was something that happened before in the game when they took out the dungeons and then they replaced the dungeons with the strongholds module. But even at that time of people wanting guilds and alliance and strongholds and things like that, it worked for a mod and then it just died out. So the second perspective is just I don't want them to put all that effort and time into it just to have it fail again.
I see where you're going. Like, I mean, people still run Dragonflights like occasionally in our alliance because there are still guilds building like that are not 20 in our alliance, right?
Yeah. So what could be done to, besides Dragonflight? What do you guys think could be done to improve what people can do to, like how Gray's saying, like level up their guilds?
Well, I mean, the other things they have in there is they obviously have the Marauders, which
Oh yeah, that's Stronghold Armadas. Do
yeah,
we
which
have
is
guild versus guild still, or is that out of
uh,
the game?
it's still in the game, but nobody does it because there's no PVE. Um, there's not really any PVE. Like, I think you can get an influence voucher and then like a ruby, like a blood ruby,
Oh wow,
Mhm.
right? But I
And
mean,
Ruby.
that quest still gives currency for Ravenloft.
right. But that's what I'm saying is like I mean they were updating that for like two mods, right? Because it wasn't always Ravenloft. It was before it was other currency, but you're not
Mm.
wrong. Like, and is that a simple solution? Like, I mean, I think the larger issue is that that currency is only available now if you do a public queue, and you don't do a closed queue anymore.
What's the major drawing factor when it comes to, like, okay, I guess I should ask it this way. Why do you guys like strongholds? Yeah, like why do you guys like stronghold? Like what draws you to strongholds to do the content in it or whatever? Because it's got to be different for everybody. So maybe they could use that as a way to improve it.
Well, I think like I mean the one thing that you have to remember in my mind, like strongholds, like and it's a huge grind. Don't get me wrong. Like there are a lot of things about it that I'm tired of, um, which I don't do a lot of it. But I notice that more and more now, like there is less and less like reason to go even back into your stronghold structure anymore. Um, like I liked like I mean, and some of it like comes back to I think there was a discussion I had on my streams about queue content versus like going to the entrance. And I think you've probably talked about this too. Is that when we went to a queue content, it sped up a lot of things. It made we can queue into a dungeon from anywhere we were. It was easier to form parties. It was easier to get to be able to get in and do the content. But we also lost something in where we had camaraderie and like I mean, the Dragonflight, it got you to realize like who your leaders were, like in the guild, as opposed, like, you know what I mean? You weren't a number anymore, you were a name. Like you weren't just some guy that was in the guild. Like people, you could see who was actively involved in playing the game on a regular basis. There was a lot more community, right?
Hmm.
Um, I mean, one of the things that I would like to see, like, come out of the, like, if they were going to rework the strongholds, would be, stuff where maybe you could only, maybe there was a dungeon in the, like, in the stronghold that, you had to go into the stronghold and, form up your group in the, in the area, and then go out to the entrance and go into that queued, go into that content there and not be queued, right?
Have your
And
guild build it up, and then you gain access to it.
right, like you maybe you tear down like the entrance, and then like as a guild, and then now you can form up in groups of 5 and go in and do this like a dungeon, right?
Hmm.
That's in there, like a tomb, and then maybe only the rewards in there are, maybe they're only stronghold stuff, right? Like stuff to build your stronghold. Like you find a cache of like, everyone can kind of cache of 1,200 influence or something by doing. So it's like 3 days worth of influence, like by doing this one dungeon. And obviously you can put it in any of the ones in the alliance, but I mean that would be a simple way of making like something easy in stronghold that would help the lower ones be able to build, and at the same time create this like community thing, right? Because even if your guild's already full, you're still farming for guild marks. A lot of people are, for food and other things. Um, and this would enable you to do that on a regular basis. Now, maybe you can't, maybe you can only do the dungeon once a day, right? I'm okay with that rather than farming it.
No, no, don't limit players. No,
I'm just
stop.
saying. I'm just saying. Well, no, because they want to limit the like. Because I mean,
Well,
I've
okay,
just,
well, yeah, limit how much currency you can get after a certain amount of runs, but
right. Okay. So then I'm fair with
ah,
that. I'm fair with that. Like that's fair. That's fair.
yeah,
But I'm
scared me
just
for a
saying
second,
like,
man.
yeah, no, I'm just saying like we don't want, like, I mean, like what I want to get away from is what's literally happening on the live server right now with like the leaderboard, right? I don't want
Yeah,
guys going in there and like doing 20,000 influence a day, right? Because they can do it.
Hmm.
clearly,
true. But so
clearly
yeah,
there's
there
some
should
people
be
who
a
can do
limit.
it.
There should be a limit on. But I do like that idea. Having your guild or your alliance having to build up something to open the entrance to a dungeon, and then that dungeon gives you currency to help build up your guild. I think that's an excellent idea.
Hmm. It almost reminds me of the original Gauntlgrim, how you would go and you would do all these things, and then at the end there was one dungeon on the left and one dungeon on the right during certain times, and then everyone would group up and enter these little dungeons per se.
Hell, just put Faldever in there again, right? That's what the dungeon you run, Faldever again, right?
Do we
Hmm.
even have a Gauntlet Grim in the game still?
No,
No, they turned it into the fiery pit.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Damn, that's unfortunate. That was a good map.
That was a good map.
That was like a 25-25 PvP, right?
It
Or
was,
20-20.
well, there was an element of that. There was an element of that. There was a 25-25, but there was also other, like Gauntlet Grand, the one that you're talking about. Isn't it still there? That's the one that you're talking about, where it's just PvP is still there.
Is it still in the game?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
It's just that nobody does it.
Damn, we just have wasted content in the game right now. I don't like that.
Um.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, so let's move on from Stronghold. We'll do one last thing. So, um, so out of all the suggestions that you saw on there, which one did you think was the least, um, the least impressive? Like the one that had that wasn't about quality of life at all, that people wanted in
Oh,
there, like they were thinking it
I
was quality of life. Yeah.
I kind of have one.
Okay.
Um, it was actually on there, and like, see, I don't know if it would be quality of life, but again, this is something that people have asked for over the years, not like all at once, but little bits and pieces there. I keep track, I keep tabs on things. Um, adding armor and weapon enchantments to companions and mounts. Even though that's not really a quality of life, but people have always been saying, for years that companions just are only this, they're only that. Mounts are just this, mounts are only that. And maybe something like that could be useful to people. I don't know, but it's just something that I've thought about and I've heard people mention several times before. What do you guys think about that?
I don't remember that exactly. Like, I know that the one thing that popped up at me a lot was the like enchantments separated from gear, right? So that they slot their enchantments and then they can just swap their gear without actually swapping enchantments around.
Can't you already do that?
Well, no. I mean, if you have a count-bound gear, you can move the enchantments with the
Oh,
gear.
yeah.
But I mean,
Or
they're
if you're running like a different head on one loadout and
Right.
then another one on a different loadout, you still have to swap enchants if you don't have doubles.
right. So I mean, that was the question. Like, I mean, I don't know if that was strictly a quality of life thing because it.
Well, yeah. I thought you were asking like
Yeah.
something that wasn't really a quality of
Yeah,
life.
no,
and
that's
that
right.
to
I don't
me-
think it's really a quality of life thing. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's an interesting idea, concept, but definitely not quality of life.
Yeah. Harper, you got anything?
Just a lot of stuff on the list where it's like there was a lot of stuff where it's like, we can already do that if you like go into options and whatnot, or there's a different way to go about whatever you're trying to get done. But in terms of like, I guess, I mean, I kind of touched on it earlier. One thing I don't want to see is the campaign currency being available on all
Right. So
all
that
teams.
right. So that and the reroll tokens.
Oh, and somebody had mentioned like being able to use your companion's account wide. I didn't quite like that one either.
I agree with you on that. I know some people don't, because some people really want their companions to be account wide. They want mounts to be account wide, their artifacts. Like, I have to agree with you on that, because I feel like that takes away from playing your other characters, like actually playing them and not just
Yeah, I mean at that point you'd have as many endgame characters as you want as soon as
just
you
level
create
up
a new
one
one.
character.
Yeah.
I
So
think
a limit
the
to account wide stuff.
gear should be account wide, but the companions themselves. I mean, we have account wide companions now, but you can't even put them on your other character. At least I can't.
If you already have a copy of them, you mean, is that what you mean?
Well, I'm pretty sure the last time I tried, I forgot what companion it was, but I can't use it on my other character. Like I can't even mail it to myself or put it in my bank. It just won't let me. So I'm just like, okay, that's cool.
What do you think, Enyo? Anything that jumps out?
I saw quite a few people for some reason mentioning that they want to be able to sell some of the hunt trophies on the auction house, and to me that's just not really something I find important anyways. There's a lot more things that I think could definitely be worked on instead of something like that. But there were quite a few people who mentioned it, so I was kind of confused on that.
Well, I mean, so I guess like what I would look at when I look at that like kind of post is obviously I don't know who the hell's like still looking for hunt stuff. I guess it must be people that are looking for transmutes. And they used to be able to do trades. Like there was an active trade channel for that. People were making money.
Mhm.
But I mean, it does go into like future, which we hope there's going to be hunts soon again.
Mhm.
And were we? I'm not sure how the hunt system is going to work. Uh, but were we happy with the way that went? Like when that was a thing, or because I mean, at the time you had a bunch of people that would farm like the posters and then either run with people for money or trade them for like marks of potency or whatever in the trade channel for
Mhm.
the hunt maps. I could have sworn that and then maybe I'm thinking older. Like that might have been Chult that they were trading. Because I'm pretty sure you could put the maps up on the AH for Axel diamonds, if I'm not
Yeah,
wrong.
you can.
Like the posters. So I mean, what do you think, like, in the next hunt thing? Is this another thing where, you want people to be able to post them up on, like, the auction house? Is that a good thing? Is that a good solution versus like the Chult where it was like trades for mops?
Well, here's the thing. Everybody's not I want to say everybody, but the team is usually talking about AD sinks, right?
Mm.
So wouldn't that be a way to just get rid of some AD in circulation? Well, actually, no, it wouldn't.
Well, I mean, when it's posted on the age, they're losing 10%.
Yeah, I just
They're
thought.
losing
Yeah, I just
10%,
thought
but
for
yeah.
it's a little bit, but it's there. Like I always liked it, and I didn't like it because I wanted to buy stuff myself, but sometimes I didn't have marks of potencies, I didn't have superiors, or my RNG was just bad, so I'd never get it to drop. Whereas if you have it on the AH, it's easy to get it. Um, but I don't know. I guess I kind of like agree and disagree with Enya.
Mm.
Hmm.
Harper, were you around for that?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat of agree and disagree. I don't really have too many thoughts on the subject.
Dino Land.
Yeah.
I remember that. I have a few things that like I also picked out of there that I did like.
Okay.
I have three, so I'll just rattle them off really quick. For consoles, again, for those of you guys that don't know, when Mod 16 was first being like developed and introduced, Cryptic actually had plans to give console players, I think it was 4 or 3 different UI templates that they could use. But when the UI artist left, that plan fell out the window. So I would want to see UI elements change and more longer buff bars. Like I know we have that window, but it's not as efficient and as good as it was back in the day when you had the long buff bar. And to add on top of that, I feel like even adding priorities to the buff bars. So clerics could see, their tanks easier, what stacks they have, or even for tanks, so they could see what stacks they have. For wizards, they can see chill and smolder quicker or in front instead of it being behind the line. Because I don't know if you guys seen console gameplay, but some of like the main buffs and debuffs on console, when you're looking at it on the buff bar, it's not there. You have to like tab out to see it, and it's very frustrating. That's one thing. The other thing was the removal of enchantments from 1 to 7 and rearrange them into lower ranks. Like there was a time when we had transcendent enchantments. Now the lower ranks obviously don't have to be called transcendent, but as this person was saying in the post, like rank 1 enchantments to 7 are just practically useless, and you wasting your time ranking them up is just wasting time. So I feel like that could be something that they could do to adjust enchantments. And then the final thing is the ability to move players from group to group in a large queue group for trials, especially.
Yeah, I think that
But
was
those are my
mentioned.
last three.
Right, that was also mentioned for strongholds to be able to move guilds around without having to disassemble the entire alliance. Right.
That
Yeah,
would be
kicking
nice.
and re-inviting people. It's a pain.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I would say about the UI thing, actually, I think there was actually a number of people that were talking about either expanding like the size of them so that people could see them more easily and other stuff. I would actually, and I don't think this was specifically like raised in there, but I think it may resolve both the issues. Would be like for you to be able to select what buffs you want to actually appear.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what the priority I was talking about. I think like
Right.
that's a perfect idea because
Yeah.
then it would be customized for you,
Right.
what you need.
Right. Right. Like, so yeah, so you could see the ones like that are going to be prompting you to do whatever else in your rotation or whatever else that's going on. Yeah. I think
Like
the
on
thing,
console, you can't even. Sorry, you go.
yeah, no, I was going to say the last thing is like obviously, so one of the things that was in there too was like there was a lot of things about the healer mark. I've seen the healer mark change that they've already done. I knew that was already in the works, obviously. Um, what's your opinion on like the rework for the healer mark now? Like if you've experienced it.
I love it. It is so much better.
What was
I
the
think
original problem with it?
So a lot of healers run with their health bars shown all the time on the different characters. And the healer mark was actually the way it was like coded into the game. It wasn't a part of like that whole health bar name display. It was a different element entirely, so it would get hidden completely behind the health bars, and you could not tell who was marked, especially if they were far enough away or if you were in a mob. And sometimes you had the problem of the mark going off. If you're not familiar with tab mechanics, you might hit tab accidentally, and then the mark is off, and you're trying to heal them, and you're like, "What's going on?" But now they actually have the mark above the health bar, and they also have a little symbol off next to the aggro bar on your teammate list off to the side that you can also reference, which I think they had a fantastic response time. I mean, it would have been nice if that was there, I guess, when it was originally implemented, but in terms of fixing this issue sooner rather than later, I am very, very happy with the new changes.
Enyo, you play a TR, so I imagine that it wasn't really relevant to you, but
No, but I did get an earful about it from Silvery, and she's very, very, very happy with it too.
I have to say, like, I did try it, and I've seen, like, I've played the healer now. Like, I've played my DC again, and I've played my OP as a heal, and like, it is like very visible now, right? And the other thing too, I think they also did was extend the range from 100, I guess it was, or 120. So it's seemingly once you mark somebody, and then as long as you don't mistakenly tab off them, then it seems to stick with them pretty much throughout the content. Do you, is that your feeling too, Harper?
Yeah, I would say that's about it.
Okay. Well, unless anyone else has anything that they really want to get off their chest, then I think we'll call it a day, and we'll say thank you to everyone for listening. Um, Anything you want to add, Enya?
There was one thing I wanted to mention
Mm-hmm.
quickly. I noticed a lot of people mentioning about the profession bag and expanding how many slots it is, because currently you can't hold all the available profession materials in the game. So then you have to split it between characters, and it gets a lot more complex than it should be. And I don't do like a ton of professions, but I do some masterwork and master crafting and just overall crafting. And it is really annoying having to go back and forth and grab things from my cleric and then my ranger. And it would be nice to just have it all in one bag.
Would that be like a huge bonus for like VIP, like ESO does, where like you have an unlimited crafting bag, like for if you have VIP?
It could be. I don't know how or what the best way to would be to implement it, but as it currently stands, the profession bag is too small to hold all the available materials in the game.
Yes, I agree. It is. I don't
So it
craft at
becomes
all, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
mhm. So it becomes kind of frustrating when you need one material and you have to go figure out what character it's on, and then you have to mailbox it to yourself. And in my opinion, you should just have a bag that can fit everything. And, even if it adjusts to like, I think in the past, the bag used to adjust to how many materials you had. So it was technically unlimited, I think. Could be
I don't,
wrong.
I don't know. I don't remember that.
I don't know.
Okay.
But that would be nice to see. I don't know how much work it would take. I don't think it would take a lot of work to add in some extra slots, but I know a lot of people commented on it and probably would appreciate it.
I know. I just like I think something like that would be like I say like ESO. That's one of the benefits that you get for being a subscriber. So if it was tied to VIP where you get an unlimited crafting bag, like that would be something that I think would encourage people to do VIP if they're not doing VIP now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
What about you? Is that it, Harper and Nova?
Yeah, we've pretty much covered a lot of the topics that I've been looking at.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have much else to say for quality of life except Don't forget about console players. We exist.
Indeed.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for coming, and thank you everyone for listening. And I guess we'll see you on the next time there's a new CDP. I don't know when that will be, but we will be here to cover it when it is there. Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.